probably don't have much time left to tell my mom that I love her if I die. This is not a joke. Send officers immediately. I'm almost dead.
Death's weight is often heavy to bear, but it becomes even more chilling when you know that someone's life was snatched away in the most horrifying way imaginable. The haunting realization that their final moments were filled with excruciating pain and paralyzing fear leaves an indelible mark of unease. If you're claustrophobic, this video might not be the right one for you. Viewer discretion is strongly advised as we delve into the 3 most harrowing ways that people have died. But before we start, we would like to send our condolences to the people affected by this untimely and cruel death of loved ones, as we aim to honor the lives that were tragically cut short. In 2004, in a quiet corner of Cambridgeshire, England, 51-year-old Ronald McClagish found himself caught in the clutches of a claustrophobe's worst nightmare. Having recently experienced a heart-wrenching breakup, he decided to confront the painful memories head-on. Little did he know, this quest for closure would lead him down a path of terror, torment, and death. Determined to erase any reminders of his ex-girlfriend, he started collecting the remnants of his failed relationship and tossing her belongings into a trash bag, unaware that his own personal hell was about to unfold. Just before he was done, Ronald heard a wood creaking sound coming from behind him. Suddenly, the closet door slammed shut with a thud, trapping Ronald in a suffocating 2-feet-wide closet. Panic surged through his veins as the realization set in, his heart pounding against the walls of his chest. Every desperate gasp for air felt like inhaling the essence of his own impending doom. With no room to move, Ronald kicked and banged the door, hoping for rescue. Every movement was met with resistance, the walls closing in like a relentless predator. The oppressive silence was shattered only by his own tortured cries. Ronald was inching close to death with each passing moment. But fate wasn't finished with its sadistic games. In a moment of desperate ingenuity, Ronald reached for a pipe above him, hoping to wield it as a lifeline. With a resounding crack, it shattered, unleashing a stream of freezing cold water pouring directly on top of his head. He screamed and yelled, but none of it was ever heard outside of his brick bungalow. Days turned into weeks as he stood there, drenched and in agony. His own closet became his final resting place, a tomb of claustrophobic anguish where his worst fears became his eternal reality. When a neighbor reported strange scratching noises, the police arrived only to find Ronald's house flooded, and his lifeless feet protruding from beneath the closet door. He was trapped inside the closet when a wardrobe outside fell over and made it impossible for him to get out. Ronald McClagish died a painfully long and horrific death inside his own house. On April 10, 2018, the world of a young 16-year-old collided with a horrifying twist of fate that would forever etch his name into the pages of tragedy. After finishing his school day, Kyle Plush was headed to his vehicle, a Honda Odyssey minivan, in the school parking lot. While inside the van, he kneeled on the third row seat, facing the back of the van as he reached into the back seat to grab his tennis equipment. This caused the third row bench seat to flip over and pin him against the back of the vehicle. The seat's weight and position made it impossible for Kyle to free himself. The weight of the seat was pressing up against his fragile frame, squeezing the breath from his lungs and confining him to an inescapable prison. In the confined space, the air grew thin, and the temperature inside the vehicle rose. In a race against time, Kyle's fingers fumbled to find a way to dislodge the seat or reach for his phone. However, at 3:14 p.m., he What should you do when a relationship turns sour? This case serves as a harrowing reminder of what not to do. 28 years old Dutch man, Mark Van Dongen, was dating 48-year-old Berlina Wallace in Bristol, UK. The duo had a tumultuous and extensive history together that dated back to 2010. Berlina had a history of physical abuse towards Mark, prompting him to end the relationship in August 2015. But the harassment never ended. Berlina persistently called Mark and would even threaten to take her own life. Mark confided in his father about the history of abuse and his fear of Berlina. He was genuinely scared of what she might do to him. In a desperate attempt to find closure, Mark decided to visit Berlina's house on September 22, 2015, hoping to end their estranged relationship once and for all. Regrettably, he made the fateful mistake of spending the night there. Little did he know, this decision would subject him to unimaginable pain and suffering. In the early morning hours of the 23rd of September at around 3 a.m., Mark's peaceful slumber turned into a waking nightmare. He awoke to an excruciating burning sensation on his face as if his very skin was on fire. Amidst his cries for help, Berlina callously laughed and uttered the chilling words, "If I cannot have you, no one can." In a pain that can't possibly be put into words, Mark managed to make his way out of this house of horrors and alert the neighbors for help. The neighbors recall seeing Mark and thinking he is covered in mud. In reality, Mark's skin was literally fuming and melting away. Emergency services were immediately contacted, and the scene they encountered was beyond horrifying. It was later revealed that Berlina had poured highly concentrated sulfuric acid on Mark's face, an act she had been planning for weeks. As a result of this horrid acid attack, Mark's pupils were completely dissolved and his face and torso were covered in severe chemical burns. Remarkably, he remained conscious and made sure to identify his attacker. Berlina was quickly arrested from her home. In the hospital, Mark managed to catch a glimpse of his face and was horrified. He told the doctors that he didn't wish to live. Mark's injuries were catastrophic. His extensive burns reached the point where the acid had not only melted his skin and muscles but had also burned through his bones. He was placed in a 4-month-long coma to aid in his recovery, but his airway remained severely compromised, necessitating assistance for breathing. When his family was called down to the hospital in Bristol, his own father failed to recognize him. His face was completely unrecognizable after the burns and bruises. When Mark finally woke up from his coma, he was completely paralyzed except for his mouth and tongue. After months of recovery, he regained some movement and could talk again. However, the excruciating pain and physical disfigurement deeply affected Mark, plunging him into a deep depression. In his already fragile state, Mark developed a lung infection. A tube had to be inserted in his throat, which made him incapable of talking. Mark took this as the final blow and filed for euthanasia, which allows the painless killing of a patient suffering from a painful and incurable disease. Although euthanasia is illegal in most countries, Mark's application was accepted under Belgium's laws. On January 2, 2017, after enduring 18 months of agony, Mark was granted eternal peace through euthanasia. In Berlina's trial, her defense argued Berlina was under the impression that she was throwing a glass of water at Mark, not acid. However, this theory quickly reduced to dust when Berlina's search history was brought up. She had been looking up acid attacks for weeks and had even ordered the sulfuric acid online. The judge recognized the sadistic and malicious nature of the attack. However, Berlina was ultimately acquitted of murder and manslaughter, but convicted of throwing a corrosive substance with intent. She received a minimum sentence of 12 years in prison for her heinous actions, a sentence I can't possibly get behind. Berlina disfigured this beautiful human being so nobody could have him if she couldn't. This attack was a grotesque display of possessiveness and cruelty. The question of whether this sentence truly reflects the severity of the crime is a matter of debate. Feel free to share your thoughts on the matter in the comments below. Click here to watch the top 3 bone-chilling confessions ever made by some of the most deranged individuals. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay updated on the latest episodes that delve deeper into the mysteries of the human mind. Thank you for watching.